Kurt Schlitter, or Schlitter? Anyway, fairly well-known right-wing provocateur, is calling for violence. If you make us do anything, we need to react with violence and ban leftist media, which is funny because leftist media is 1/1000th the size of far right media. But let's ban that. It's clearly the big threat to democracy and to anything right now is the very tiny leftist media. All 80 we got tuned in at the moment. Yeah, I mean, and it gets worse. I mean, it's like, it's psychotic stuff. So that was from 5 days ago. I don't know if he got banned for this. I mean, you would think, surely this crosses some sort of line of just any sort of reasonableness. But then, then you got this guy. I don't know if I want to watch all 2 minutes of it, but Rand Paul, the biggest baby ever, saying that if not to follow the CDC, and if they're going to make us wear masks, we should resist. Again, I assume violently if necessary. I'm kind of the opinion of like, let's give them what they want. I mean, if they want to fight about this, like, we should just give them what they want. Because I mean, you just don't listen to these people. Like, they're nonsense peddlers and death cultists. I mean, Japan just ran an Olympics with no guests, handed masks to every athlete at the end of every, thing. I mean, they made people follow all sorts of rules, and nobody died, nobody got violent with each other. I mean, like, there's a huge percentage of us that are just, cases are really high right now. We should do some stuff to get around that. Like, nobody, like, only the most unreasonable, ridiculous people think that we should resist mask mandates with violence or with any of this stuff. Yeah, force them to be like us. Yeah, I mean, the other thing about this too is it really does speak to like a sort of victim mentality, which is what they accuse the snowflakes on the left of, is that we're the real victims. But when you read stuff like this about like, we have to say no to shots. I mean, it's like, I vividly sort of remember running out of a doctor's office when I was getting a vaccine when I was probably like 7 or 8. I don't know if they ended up holding me down. I think they just cajoled me back into like doing it. But it's like, that's the rationale of like a 7-year-old, is to like scream and freak out and resist a shot that you forget about in 5 minutes. But these guys are like adults and like really believe that this is like what we should do. And it's like, it's the actions of a child, and we should not listen to them. I think that's safe ground. Oh, here, let's listen to Rand Paul for a second, because it's so ridiculous.
It's time for us to resist. They can't arrest all of us. They can't keep all of your kids home from school. They can't keep every government building closed, although I've got a long list of ones they might keep closed or might ought to keep closed.
Zinger.
We don't have to accept the mandates, lockdowns, and harmful policies of the petty tyrants and bureaucrats. We can simply say no, not again. Nancy Pelosi, you will not arrest or stop me or anyone on my staff from doing our jobs. We have either had COVID, had the vaccine, or been offered the vaccine. We will make our own health choices. We will not show you a passport. We will not wear a mask. We will not be forced into random screenings and testings.
I mean, what does this guy think, like, every time he goes to an airport? And I get it. I don't love airport security. But, like, I mean, after 9/11, like, we implemented the most insane security theater in the history of the world. And I'm sure he's against TSA. But, like, you don't freak out every time you have to take off your shoes in an airport, do you? Because, one, it's not going to change anything. And two, it's dumb. Like, it's just childish and infantile. And I mean, just this logic, I mean, you could just apply this to driver's licenses, to, I mean, all sorts of things. And yeah, obviously there are some silly government regulations. There's things we should change. But like, just make that argument when cases of a deadly respiratory, highly contagious pandemic, are surging. You don't have any argument here. I mean, it's just, it is the most baby-brained ridiculousness that we have to like sit and listen to these people and even act like, I mean, I think he got banned off of YouTube for some of this crap. And I'm sure, again, it's like cancel culture, run amok or whatever. But we just should not listen to these people anymore. Like it's so, they are so beyond the pale of ridiculousness. Yeah, so I'll listen.
You can continue your drunk with power reign over the Capitol. President Biden, we will not accept your agency's mandates or your reported moves towards a lockdown. No one should follow the CDC's anti-science mask mandates. And if you want to shut down federal agencies again, some of which aren't even back to work yet, I will stop every bill coming through the Senate with an amendment to cut their funding if they don't come back to work in person. Local bureaucrats and union bosses, we will not allow you to do more harm to our children again this year. Children are not at any more risk from COVID than they are from the seasonal flu.
And the funny thing about that is it's, one, probably not true, and then two, doesn't account for the fact that like the way a respiratory virus propagates is that it goes to other people. So yes, vaccination rates are very high for the elderly, but if there are unvaccinated people or immunocompromised people or folks that can't get vaccinated, I mean, it's like, it's not just the kids that get impacted, even though, as we're seeing with, more hospitalizations with kids, it does impact some of them. So I don't know. It's like at this point, like we just know these guys are wrong. Like that's really what it comes down to is that there is ample evidence that shows plenty of countries had fine economies, saved many, many lives by implementing reasonable rules when cases got high or when they had cases. So, I mean, it is just extremely infantile logic that all of us seem to be beholden to because guys like Rand Paul get on a video and sound really confident about it. Yeah, they definitely don't believe it themselves. 100% don't believe it. I mean, Rand Paul went out and got that friggin' vaccine ASAP. Yeah, I mean, or okay, fine, COVID, he realized is a big political thing, so he's got to like maybe look a certain way. But on so many other things, like they behave much more rationally when people aren't looking. 100%. Yeah, and I mean about like people not voicing their own opinions. I mean, I agree with that. I think that's a failing though of many politicians. Like I think there is like sort of a what is the word I'm looking for? Like a prevailing sentiment or like a popular way of thinking, even about COVID, that you could tap into to get people to go like, all right, like that makes sense, and kind of come along with you. I think too often we try to reduce it to, whatever the politics of the moment are, which the right is really good at. It's just they lie and use really terrible logic.